this moment and in this opportunity to be together under this delicious, beautiful, breezy sky. Together, brothers and sisters on this spiritual path, sharing this time together. And so we begin, as we always do, by dedicating our hearts, offering our hearts to Spirit. We say, here's my heart, Lord, because we're offering our hearts, our minds, our judgments, our fears. We're just offering it all up so that we can be of service to Spirit. So I'm going to ask my DJ to get us started with Here's My Heart. Everyone take a nice deep breath. Miracle says, first thing in the morning, when you wake up, you should just say, here I am, Lord, here I am. First thing in the morning, just offer your entire presence to be of service.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true.
Give thanks for this opportunity to be here this evening.
Here's my heart,
our hearts, our minds, our
Lord.
fears, our judgments.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. 'cause you are strong, you are sure, you are light, you
Opportunity to sing our prayers,
endure,
join our
and
voices
you
together.
are good.
Sing, raise the vibration, join in with this intention.
You
One
are
mind, one spirit, one voice.
breaking through.
Joyfully, unabashedly, unshyly, feeling the willingness, awe, excitement, joy. Silence as you remain with your hand on your heart, your mind centered. Seeing the light that comes through you and out into the world, back in through you, out to the world, light through you, out to the world. This is tremendous instruments of peace and healing, allowing our prayers to go out to all the places where they're needed, to our own bodies, to the bodies of all our brothers and sisters as they remain here during this temporary time of quarantine, temporary time on earth, just feeling the connection with one another throughout the entire world, sending our love, our blessings, our prayers, knowing that this time is crucial as the world changes the way it thinks, changes the way it behaves, changes the way it does the things that it does, perhaps hopefully changing its adversarialness and its divisiveness. Maybe that's the lesson in all of this, and if that's the lesson, if that's the result, we give thanks for that. Nice deep breath, we come back together. Hey everybody, happy Thursday. It's a very nice evening. It's a really great evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who are with us through live stream, Facebook. We have an amazing week coming up. You know, we're moving into a very holy, sacred time. Every day is holy, every day is sacred. But when we move out of this week into next week, there's just so much happening all in 1 week, day after day after day. Starts with Sunday, we have Palm Sunday, that's on the 5th. On the 7th, we have the full moon. On the 9th, we have Passover, which is next Thursday. And then on the day after that, the 10th, we have Good Friday. It's just a very powerful, auspicious time of spiritual energies coming together. So next Thursday, we'll do a little special honoring of that week and all the special energies that are happening, and do one of our spiritual cleansing ceremonies. And then on Friday, so we meet next Thursday on the 9th. Next Friday on the 10th, Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary has its yearly Sacred Stations event. We're going to do it through Zoom. Usually we do it live and in person. And what it is that Reverend Grace Telesco and I take the Stations of the Cross and we look at them from a metaphysical perspective, a metaphysical and an interfaith perspective. And we each take on roles as if we're speaking as if we were there in that time. And it's a very beautiful reinterpretation of the Stations of the Cross. So if you're interested in that, we'll be sending out links so that you can watch it on Zoom or live stream. I'll let you know. I think it's Zoom. But that's going to be next Friday. And I'll remind you again on Thursday, since we'll be together on Thursday the 9th. So lots happening next week. And we will we'll do some honoring of that next Thursday when I see you. So I want to sort of pick up where we left off last week, and then we'll go on to the topic for today. Last week we were talking about how important it is for us to stay centered in peace, in trust and in peace. And we wandered off into the concept of perfect peace, and the question was, is it possible for us to have and maintain perfect peace in our lives and in our circumstances? And the question came up about Jesus in the temple. Like, didn't he lose his peace? I was going to say something, but he didn't lose his peace during that time. And there is an interpretation of that is directly related to A Course in Miracles. And the reason I didn't talk about it last week is it was like toward the end of the class, and I want us to have time to process things when they come up. So we started the class last week by talking about how our behaviors, when they are difficult, ego-based, judgment-driven, fear-driven, it's like children playing with broken toys. Right? That's what we're trying to do as adults. We're trying to put away our childish things. We're trying to put away the things that hurt us and hurt other people. And a lot of that is the stuff that comes from our subconscious mind and our ego mind, our reactivity, that sort of thing. So when we think about being a parent, for example, and your child is playing with broken toys, your child is playing with something that's hurtful to them, you want to redirect them. And you might want to take the toy away from them. You might want to turn over the table of where the toys are, right? It doesn't mean you're angry. It doesn't mean that you're going to hurt the child. It means that you need to stop and redirect them from hurting themselves. So I believe that that's the interpretation of what occurred when we think about Jesus the man who was living his life in Christ consciousness and did not have a disturbable spirit. And so when people say, yeah, well, he went in and he was angry and he turned over the tables, I think of it as, yes, turning over, just like turning over the ego, representing the need for the ego to rise above these earthly aggravations and issues, and taking away the childish toys. You're in a place of holiness and you're doing something that is unkind, I'm trying to use words that we would not typically use to shame anyone, but they were doing things that shouldn't have been done in the temple, and so he stopped it from happening. Does that mean that he wasn't at peace in doing it, or was he serving as an example of how to make a change, how to do things differently? Just like a parent would take away a broken, jagged toy from a child. Is there something that you wanted to say about it?
No, that's the kind of the same thing that, that I look at it too, is like he was also, flipping the table was also revealing, what was going on. He was everybody, it was happening in public, but it was also sort of on the sly. There were things that were happening that in his flipping the table, he's bringing attention and exposing. Yeah. And like you said, it wasn't, from my perspective, could he have been upset? Yeah. Could he have been disturbed? Possibly. But it was more about bringing the attention, all eyes on this thing that you think I don't see. And he was exposing.
Shining a light. And interesting, because of Course in Miracles is always talking about shining a light in the dark places. Shining a light onto the dark places so that you see within your own mind where the darkness is. And allowing yourself to use your own spiritual practice and tools to remove that darkness. And it's usually within yourself. It's the darkness within yourself that you're trying to transform. Yes, Shani?
So maybe he was at peace with knowing what he had to do, even though it wasn't an act that he enjoyed doing.
That's how I interpret it. That's, I don't think it was like he was so enraged, because really rage is a fear-based. Yeah, rage is a fear-based emotion, and the way it's interpreted is that he had like righteous anger, but it was really an opportunity to be an example. The metaphysical interpretation of Jesus is always a representation of higher consciousness, moving out of the ego and into a place of higher consciousness. So the turning of the tables, I think, is also very symbolic. Turning over our ego to a higher consciousness.
And turning the mind.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're changing our minds. We're raising our
Cleaning it up
consciousness.
and letting those garbage wise out.
And you know, when we think of it in terms of just practical everyday life, you know, if you were a parent, you wouldn't be enraged because your child was doing something that could be hurtful to them. You would instead want to redirect them. But you might want to do it very firmly so they get it that it's not good for them. The story that just came to mind was many years ago. I was leaving a job where I was running an independent living program for mentally retarded adults, and they had this big going away party for me. And I guess they got together and they got me some kind of gift, but I don't remember now what it was. I just know that it was broken. Like by the time they gave it to me, it was like a little statue or something, and it was all broken. And they wrapped it up like really poorly, and you know the tape was all over the place. And they were so happy. They were all like lined up watching me as I unwrapped it, you know. And as I unwrapped it, I realized that it was broken, and I also sort of cut myself with it, you know. And so I unwrapped it, and I'm like trying not to show that I'm cut and probably like bleeding a little bit. And I was like, this is amazing, you know. This is just like so amazing, because when we're in a different understanding of other people's intention, it doesn't have to be something that we want or that we love. We just react to it from a loving place. So, but if they were going to take it and say, well, you know, start passing it around amongst themselves, I wouldn't have let that happen because they could have gotten cut too, right? So it's just a matter of how we keep ourselves in a place of peace while we are still representing and talking to people about how we think we live our lives. Not about how we think they have to live their lives, but just how we live our lives. Being an example. Being an example at all times. So if somebody came in here right now and decided they were going to vandalize this space, all of us would probably want to rise to the occasion of not allowing that to happen, right? Doesn't mean we have to hurt anybody. I don't know if the police would come, you know, considering we're under
we could do that
restrictions.
stay at peace, that it not become ravenous, angry mob with the herds of people coming to it.
Yeah, exactly. You might have a moment where you think that way, right? There might be that moment where you think, you know, well, I remember when my house got robbed, it was interesting because women and men would tell me two different things. Like, I ran out of the house because the people were still in my house, and I ran out and I was calling the police. And I've talked to a lot of guys who said to me, well, I would have run toward them. I would have run toward them and after them. And it's just sort of like we live off our instincts, right? We live off of like our reactivity. What is it that I'm going to do? We think we know what we're going to do, but when we're in that moment. So the beauty of trying to find a peaceful center, regardless of circumstances, is that there may come a time that no matter what happens, it doesn't disturb us. I didn't walk into my house and say, I can see peace instead of this. I ran out screaming and upset, you know? But maybe there will become a time when it wouldn't matter that much. You know, I don't know. Life has given us a lot of opportunities, like right now, right? Right now we're having to change our lives, and we're having to look at how we review and view circumstances, and hopefully how we change how we are and who we are, rise above some of the petty stuff that may be in our minds on a daily basis, because now we have to pray harder, rise higher, right? And love more deeply, love each other, and loving people, you know, all across the world. All across the world right now.
Did you ever think about when your house was robbed, first time and then the second time? How I'll put this. So like I know you moved to your house and you were in your house, but did you think about or not? And if you didn't, that's fine too. I'm just wondering, like, did it occur to you what am I supposed to learn from this? Like, did that thought process go through your mind, or were you just like, this is something that happened and I don't care and I'm moving on?
No, I really completely went through a period of time of questioning, like, what was happening within me. I really did wonder about that. Like, what was happening within me that was perhaps attracting this sort of energy of disruption. And I can say that there was other disruptions going on in my life at the time. And yeah, I did give it a lot of thought. I also gave a lot of thought to who I was afterwards. You know, like I was packing up my home as people were coming in to help me. It was just amazing how the helpers rushed in. The very next day, there were people in my house, cleaning my house, picking up glass, packing things up, helping me to clean up and to board up. It was just amazing. I think I learned more after the fact because there was so much care and concern and beauty also. I remember I actually wrote about this one time that I was in my backyard and I actually felt a butterfly come like right up to my face, and I thought, would I have even noticed that butterfly if I wasn't so completely in a mindful state around what had just gone on in my life, you know? It was just, everything just seemed very heightened, my awareness of everything, not just the fear of what happened, but also the beauty of what occurred afterwards. So it's not just what happens in the moment, but it's sort of like full circle. You know, what do we learn from it? Who do we become as a result? And hopefully not to get stuck in some kind of victim mentality. So I wanted to share some more from Jesus Calling. This happens to be my latest favorite sharing. This is, for those of you who haven't been with me, this is a daily reader a friend of mine sent me over the holidays. And I have found it very much in line with our teachings. And it seems like whatever we're going to talk about this Thursday, somewhere along the line in that week, something from the book came up. So this is from yesterday's reading. And this is Jesus Calling. This is like channeled also as if it's Jesus speaking to us, right? He says, I am calling you to a life of constant communication with me. And we talked about that last week. It's like, or maybe we talked about it on the Zoom class, you know. It doesn't matter what you call it, who you call it, or what you think it really is in terms of dogma. It's like if we're putting out that energy, if we're speaking out to a higher place within ourselves and without, to be constantly in that communication within and without of wanting to do better and be better. It doesn't matter what we call it, it's constant communication. Our thoughts are prayers, our thoughts have power. We can constantly be in communication with Spirit through changing our minds when we feel it and see it going into a place where it's not so lovely and not so loving, right? So he's saying to be in constant communication. So, okay, as an aside, before I get to the next slide, you know, with a twist. This is a friend of mine, well, an acquaintance of mine is very much into conspiracy theories. And so she's always sending me like videos about these people who have some Illuminati connections, and she's like, see, it's happening, this is happening. And so the other day she sent me one that was 3 hours long, so I'm like fast forwarding or whatever you do on Facebook, you know, like when you're listening to a video. And I was listening to different things that this guy was saying. Now, I'm not going to say that everything was beyond the realm of possibilities, because I think everything is within the realm of possibilities. But what I realized at one point was that regardless of the paranoia and the conspiracy-ness of his talk, he was still moving his ultimate goal to a higher consciousness. He might not have used those words, but what I came to realize is that we still want, regardless of what we think things come from or how they come from, we still want the world to be a better place. We want ourselves to be better. We want our minds to be better. We want our hearts to be connected. We want things to heal, regardless of what we think they came from, right? There's all kinds of theories, especially now, all kinds of theories. But you know what? We are in the now, it's right here, it's right now, and who are we as a result of it? And so we have that constant communication with Spirit, not with Facebook adversarial voices, not with argument, but to allow ourselves to be aligned with the voice of Spirit in our own hearts. Shelley, you want to say?
Even if there is an Illuminati, they're still doing the same thing we're doing, just in a different path.
So that's my point. You know, regardless of what we call it or what anybody calls it or what they believe, it's like if we can just get to peace, you know? Step out of the disruptiveness and get to a place within yourself, and then your communication will be a voice and a hearing of more of the peaceful tone than the conspiracy tones.
Barbara
hate
says
tones, the
online
hate
to Ben's comment, she says, I love the invitation to look at what did I learn from this and what has it manifested in my life.
Yeah, and there you go. I mean, we always have something that's next. You know, whatever's happening now, there's something that's going to be next. And we can just spend a lot of time being bitter over what happened, or we can come to that crossroad and decide to be better as a result of what happened. I love to use the example of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They had a horrible experience, something terrible happened, and what did they do? They changed the laws of the land. They made sure that Congress brought down the level that would be considered drunk driving. Laws and speed limits came down. I mean, all things happen as a result of something that was horrendous. And these things happen all the time. Something really bad, quote unquote, can happen in your life, and then you can turn it into an opportunity to do good. So thank you for that comment. All right, I'll get to the next line of our reading. I love this. I love this. He says, basic training includes learning to live above your circumstances, even while interacting on a cluttered plane of life. Basic training. I love that idea. When I read that, I thought about all of us like in combat boots, you know, and we're just like, really, we're in basic training. We're trying to raise our consciousness through whatever it is that's going on in our lives. And so instead of seeing it as something horrible and being upset with it, we can see ourselves as warriors, right? We're soldiers. We're working through it so that we can then rise higher, you know. So we're in basic training. When you think about basic training, anybody here from military? Anybody? So when you're in basic training, don't you have like a sergeant who's telling you, go, 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 right? He's like running alongside you, and so you've got this, huh? He's not being nice about it, but he's right there with you, and he's telling you to keep going, keep going.
Yeah, it goes back to that parent that's doing something they probably don't like.
Yeah, so that's kind of like us, right? We're in basic training. We're going through hard times, but we have a guide who's right there with us saying, go, 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 you can do it, keep going, keep going. And so this concept is the idea that once we're in constant communication with our sergeant, whoever, the general, it's an opportunity for us to see the difficulty of basic training as an opportunity to grow stronger, right? We're becoming spiritual warriors. You can start out your day with your hand on your heart and say, here's my heart, Lord, and then you can get up and go into hero's pose, all right, I'm gonna do good and do better, be better today. Because I know that in doing better and being better, for me, I'm also doing better and being better for you. And that within this relationship that I have with anyone that I come in contact with, I have this opportunity to see the light and to be the light, to bring the light. So we're always in constant communication with Spirit, but with ourselves as well. With Spirit, with ourselves, and with each other. It says you yearn for a simplified lifestyle so your communication with me can be interrupted, but I challenge you to relinquish that fantasy and accept each day just as it comes and find me in the midst of all of it. So no matter what it is, to continuously maintain that constant communication, even in the clutter, even while we're in our, strapping on our boots and going through boot camp.
Heather online says that it's nice that Earth has a time to heal, and she sends you a halo angel. And Barbara also said that she's grateful for your elaboration and how she can learn to be better.
Yay, aren't we all learning? That's what we're doing. We're all learning together. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this opportunity. So then, because we're looking at the idea of miracles this week, if you notice, we came out of the review section and we're going into a new section. Lessons 90, 91, 92. They're all about being miracle workers and accepting our miracles. So in the expanded edition, the Circle of Atonement edition, when you look at the miracle principles in the first chapter, there's an expansion of the concepts. Now, if you look in the Foundation for Inner Peace book, you have the principles, but there's not an expansion on it. So I made copies of the expansion so I can read them to you. So I wanted to look at miracle number 21, miracle principle 21, and it's going to be different than if you look at it in your Foundation for Inner Peace book. So don't. All right, don't worry about that. I'll read it to you. What it says here is a miracle reawakens the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. So I think that's an important thing to remember right now because we're all very concerned about our bodies, right? And rightfully so. We're being prudent. For anybody who knows, we're 6 feet apart here, right? We're following the guidelines. We're washing our hands, don't touch your face. When I go to work, I work in a nursing home. I have to wear a mask. We have to have our heads covered. You know, we have to wash constantly. We have to show the nurse when we get there that our hands are, that we can use the antibacterial soap. It has to be continuous protection of one another. But the ultimate truth is that this is not where the altar of God's love will remain, because it will be beyond your body. Right? We're very attached to our bodies right now. We're very concerned about that. But listen to what it says. The miracle reawakens that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. That's why we're doing this work in the first place. That's why we're doing our spiritual practices, because we realize that it's our soul, it's our spirit that we are trying to elevate. It's our mind that we're trying to calm down. It's our bodies that we're trying to protect. But it's ultimately our spirit that we're elevating so that we can connect with the Spirit of God. This is the recognition that leads to the healing power of a miracle. Your abilities will be very useful when they come under involuntary control. What does that mean? Well, when you want to do good and hopefully can perform a miracle, which is basically two parts. One, a shift in consciousness, and number two, a maximal expression of love. So when you have the opportunity to have a shift in consciousness and to express a maximal expression of love, it could be just a moment of tension between you and another person. And the fact that you can change your mind and not lash out, not say something that's in your mind and you stop yourself, you redirect your mind. That in and of itself would be considered a miracle. Or if you find yourself led to help somebody, what they say in the Course is, let yourself be led to do the miracle. So it's involuntary. It's like suddenly you find yourself wondering, well, why did I offer this person a bottle of water? You don't know. Suddenly you just felt compelled to do an act of kindness. That is an involuntary action of a miracle, because you don't really know that you yourself would have thought to do it, but something is compelling you to do it. So it's, of course, a miracle says that at some point these things start becoming more and more a part of who you are. You just start becoming a miracle worker. And these miracles can be just acts of kindness. It's not like you're going to wave your hand. Maybe you will. Maybe some of you will. But it's not like we're going to raise our hand and raise the dead. Right? It's that we will instead have such a place of internal peace and a sense of being grounded in that peace, that what doesn't disturb us are the things that used to disturb us. And so we have this feeling of being able to widen the gap between that which triggers us and what used to be reactivity to that. And now instead we're offering peace and kindness and compassion and forgiveness and love. It says also, miracles are a natural expression of total forgiveness. Through miracles you affirm your acceptance of God's forgiveness by accepting it to others. The Course is always telling us that we are forgiven. But we often hold a grudge against ourselves if we've hurt somebody. I mean, I know for me, there's times when I've called people out of the blue because I think about something that maybe I did that was hurtful or said, and it's like, I just feel the need to reach out. And the truth of the matter is, that's already been forgiven. That's already been forgiven beyond my guilt, right? I have to forgive myself. My guilt is not serving you. My guilt is something that I have to forgive within myself so that I can then see myself clearly, and in seeing myself clearly, I can see you. And so what it's saying is that miracles are natural expressions of total forgiveness. Once we accept that we are forgiven, once we accept that we can do this, that we don't need to hold ourselves accountable to anything that's already been forgiven, so we can then be true expressions of love. As long as we're hurting ourselves through guilt and shame, then it's harder for us to be that true expression of love. Do you want to say something? No. We're just enjoying tofu.
I was going to get something in the car, a blanket or something.
Oh, sure. You getting chilly?
Yeah.
So it says this, and hear this as if somebody, like Spirit, is just calling your name. All right, everybody. Let's do it. Everybody, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. Hear your name. Hear your name as clearly as if someone is just sitting beside you, whispering your name, and you know that your name is beloved. You are beloved. Before you were born, before your parents decided that you were going to be Sandra or Tofu or Barbara or Shelley or Libby or Ben or Rusty or Lindsay or Lori, before any of those names were printed on a birth certificate, God called you beloved. You are beloved. You are holy, lovely, a perfect shaft of pure light. Before your loveliness, the stars stand transfixed and bow to the power of your will. Let's hear it again. You are holy, lovely, a perfect shaft of pure light. Before your loveliness, the stars stand transfixed and bow to the power of your will. And what is your will? To live in perfect peace and to extend that peace out. Do you hear it? Miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness. When complete is the atonement. And this process works at all time and all dimensions. And so what it is saying is that we should replace the word sin with absence of love. So what we would normally say is, it's very cute, what we would normally say is something that we've done wrong and we're feeling guilty and we're giving ourselves a hard time about it because we think that we've sinned. We can just remember that it was a time when we were expressing an absence of love, and we can correct that. The Course also says that a sin is a mistake in need of correction. It's up to us to make that correction, so we make that correction. And you do it differently next time, hopefully. However many next times it takes, right? Because sometimes it's more than one. A miracle rearranges the order of perception and places the levels in their true place.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and that's what we're trying to do, right? We're changing our perception, because our perception is just a projection.
Can you repeat that,
Yes,
please? Thank you.
a miracle rearranges the order of perception and places the levels in their true place. So our levels of perception is what we're projecting out into the world, right? So you should be this way, you should be that way, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. That's all our projection, all our perception of what's right and what's wrong. But the miracle puts all of that in its rightful place. And its rightful place is a place where we see it with loving eyes. We see it with Christ vision. And we're responsible for what we see. We're responsible for how we interpret what we see and how we interact in the world as a result of the perceptions that we've created. Imagine if these past few years, everybody was just feeling love, feeling loving, feeling forgiving, regardless of politics, regardless of terrorists, regardless of everything and anything that's going on in the world these past 10, 5, 4, 3, 2 years, right? I mean, it just seems like it's accelerated over time, the upsets that we've been having. If our true perception on a global level was that everything is fine, everything's going to be okay, we'll just keep putting love and light into the world, into the ground, into the sky, and into each other, maybe we wouldn't have a global pandemic. Maybe. The purpose of the atonement is to restore everything to you, and that means to restore your awareness of everything, your true awareness of what everything is and how it should be. Now, I love this line. You now share my inability to tolerate a lack of love in yourself and in everyone else. So, when you see yourself not being loving to yourself or to others, that's the one thing that your perception is sort of allowed to judge and say, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I'm not going to tolerate my inability to love myself or to love others. Then it says, now this is from the Circle of Atonement edition. I haven't seen it anywhere else. It says, you must join the great crusade. The slogan of this crusade is listen, learn, and do. Listen to my voice, learn to undo the error. The error is anything that's not loving, and do something to correct it. Remember, We're in boot camp, right? It doesn't say that there, I'm telling you. Remember, we're in boot camp and we're learning to do these things, right? That's why it's practice, it's spiritual practice. That's why the soldier has to run through the mud and climb the hills over and over and over again, right? How long did it take you to get it right? Just, a long time. It takes us all a long time to get it right. The power to work miracles belongs to you. And he says, I will arrange the right opportunities for you to do them. But you must be ready and willing to do them since you already are able to. You will see miracles through your hands, through mine. I love that idea. It means that, when we were first talking about boot camp and the sergeant running right alongside you, well, he hasn't left your side. He's still with you, guiding your hand, guiding your thoughts, guiding the miracle that can be worked through you. You must be ready and willing. For those of you who were with me during the year of art, through Course in Miracles, through the art, there was a time when I drew a picture of a fire engine, and we talked about how if you work in a firehouse, there may not be a call for fire, but you have to be ready for fire, right? You have to be ready. You have to work on the truck. You have to make sure it's working well. You have to make sure the siren works and everything works so that when the time comes and you are needed, you can just hop on and take off and extinguish the flame, right? It's the same thing as being a miracle worker. Once we are in that space of self-love and seeing others from a loving place, then we are ready, willing, and able and capable of performing the miracle, even if it is just a shift of consciousness. It's just saying, just always be ready to do that. So if we're walking around with a chip on our shoulder, or we're feeling sorry for ourselves, or we're angry at ourselves, or we're having a lot of guilt, we're not ready and able to perform the miracle. Because we might not even catch it, right? Somebody might need it. You might be walking by somebody who's having a hard day, or just having an upset, and you walk right past them because you're all caught up in your own stuff. I saw a sign on a church one side that said, a man all wrapped up in himself is overdressed. Right? So it's kind of like that. We're just, if you're all wrapped up in yourself, you're going to miss the opportunity to be of service, to perform the miracle. And it's saying you already have the ability. You have the ability. You just have to step out of that darkness that you hold against yourself. Shine a light on it. Start out talking about shining a light, and that's what we're doing. We're shining the light. So that's from the CE edition. If any of you have it, it's the bigger book. It's about twice the size of this, but it has 45,000 more words, and that is the expansion on the concept of miracles through them. So it's in you, it will be through you, it's for you, and you just have to know. You just have to know. You just have that sense of readiness. And it could be so simple. It could just be so simple. It's going to be just when you feel inclined to perform an act of kindness. You just never know when you're going to really make a change in somebody's life just simply because of your presence, because of you there. It's like the nurse who gave me a cracker and a banana after 9 hours of sitting on a gurney. People just get walking past me. I was in a hospital, in the emergency room. This one lady gave me a little 2 package of Lance crackers and a banana. Oh, I was grateful forever. I'm still thanking her to this day. Sometimes when I teach customer service, I say, "Is she out there? Are you out there? Are you out there? I want to thank you for the crackers and the banana." Because it made a difference. You never know. You never know when you can just do something so simple. And it's the reason it would be considered a miracle is because maybe it wasn't something you consciously set out to do. I see on Facebook a lot people making a big deal about the things that they do. I'm going to write a letter to my neighbor, and I'm going to, and then they have you videotape all their acts of kindness. Well, there's lots of opportunities to have acts of kindness that are not recorded. They're not, nobody sees them, but they're recorded in the record of your soul. They're recorded in your spirit, and I'm sure there's things that you do every day. It's not that you planned it out and got somebody to make sure that you were live streaming. It's because you just felt compelled to perform an act of kindness, even if it means that you kind of wanted to say something that wasn't so nice and you said something nice instead. Somehow you found it within yourself. That's a miracle sometimes for some of us, right? Sometimes it's a miracle just to move past your subconscious training your knee-jerk reactions, your reactivity, to be able to come from a place of love and kindness. Is that a hand up?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
Self-conscious.
It's funny because
Who's
on
you?
Facebook sometimes you'll see people post. I've noticed this lately. They'll post something good happened to them, they got a job or something great happened to them, and then at the end of the thing they'll say, God is good. And I'm reading it, and only lately it makes me laugh because I'm like, yeah, God is good, but that's not why.
Not just because you got a job, right?
Like, but the reason why that's a revelation for me is because that is a revelation for me. That's for me a very separate. There's external stuff which can be good, but to me it almost has nothing to do with God at all. Like I see them as kind of as separate, which is a weird thing to say.
So you could say even when you lost your job and you were starving and you were on the street asking for nickels, that God is still good. That's not a separate issue.
Right.
It's just that when we look at healings and miracles that occurred that we were aware of, sometimes we wonder why some things get done and some things don't get done. And one of the examples I've been using for probably, I think it's about 20 years now, maybe 15, 20 years, was when Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped at the same time that Lacey Peterson was missing, right? And Lacey Peterson ended up showing up dead, right? Her baby were killed by the husband. But Elizabeth Smart came home. And for some reason, this stayed with me all these years, and it's to your point, is that when they asked Elizabeth Smart's father, how do you feel? He said, I'm so happy, God answers prayer. And I remember thinking, well, what about the Petersons' prayer? Are we saying that, one was judged as more accurate or more worthy? I don't think so. I think there's things that are beyond our understanding and beyond what the soul's purpose is in our conscious mind that is just going to be an undoing of a divine plan. It's just going to happen.
I was listening yesterday to somebody that I follow too, and he said that to make that, it's a judgment. We should just end the sentence with God is, period.
Just
Not
God
adding
is.
the good, the bad, the
Yeah.
whatever. Because to do that, to finish that sentence, we're making God more human than we are. We're applying human attributes to God, and we're placing judgments upon God. And the fact is that God just is.
God is, period. God is, exclamation point.
The Tao that can be named is not the real Tao.
Yeah, that's what Taoism says, that if you name it, you don't know it. Because it cannot be known as something that we construct.
And it's
beyond
moving, for me personally, it's moving beyond this paradigm, which I definitely used to have, of God doling out reward and punishment.
Yes, right. That's like the smart
Or
smart
testing
family
people.
versus the Peterson family, right? Who gets the reward? Yeah, and it's not that. You're right. It's not like that. Not like Father Guido Sarducci. Remember him from Saturday Night Live? And they said, oh, you have to pay for your sins, so you get a certain amount of money when you get to heaven, and then they start telling you sins, and if there's anything left over, you get to come in. That's like the idea that some of us have. This.
I sure
this
had it.
Ways and balances. You did what?
I used to have that.
You had that, yeah. Well, a lot of us were raised with that idea.
Well, the other thing too is what you were talking about. You guys were talking about earlier about how did you feel differently, like in your spirit, and what you learned afterwards in retrospect from when your house got robbed and stuff like that. So when things like that happen, and then you look back on it, like you could really say, "Oh wow, God is good," because now you really learned what you were supposed to learn from the situation. I mean, you don't have to say it either time, but what I'm saying is that it just goes to show the point that across the board it is the same. Because
And how wonderful to be able to express gratitude and to be able to say, wow, look, my life has changed. In retrospect, I can see
Yeah.
the good that's come of it, and that in of itself raises the vibration. Or you can just spend the whole time being miserable and unhappy because of
Right.
what happened.
Yeah.
So that is transforming. That is a transformational opportunity. I knew a guy who used to say, I think Jason Glass, he was also a Course in Miracles teacher. He used to say, when you tell a story, just tell like the facts and then the end. That's it. This happened. The end. You know, so we don't have to add a whole bunch of like woe is me kind of stuff attached to it. You know, just this happened. That's it. It happened. And now we're either gonna be better, do better, or
right.
get better, or bitter. We can be bitter or better. What was that?
That's, I just was thinking about what you said. It's like, yeah, you tell a story like, I was at Publix today and this lady took a long time in the line. That's the end.
That's
You know,
it.
I mean, you don't have to go into all the details
Yeah.
about what she was doing and what she looked like and what the other people. I mean,
Yeah,
that
because
was,
you know,
yeah,
suddenly, you know, that's where like stereotypes and racism comes in when people start telling stories and then they add like ethnicity to it or body shape or, you know, it's like, wow, we can really change how we even speak to one another. You know, can somebody give me a time check? I don't know what I'm doing.
It's 4 minutes till 7. 8.
Oh my goodness, I'm just chatting away.
There's
It's
actually,
almost-
Dr. Rice actually has some stuff about responsible communication
Yes.
that he teaches.
Yeah, it's, you know, and nonviolent communication, there's so many things that help raise our awareness. That's what we're doing. We're raising our awareness about how we speak to each other and even just how we think. You know, that's an important piece too, to pay attention to what's going on within our own minds. Lesson 91 was miracles are seen in light. Miracles are seen in light. The body's eyes do not perceive the light. But I'm not a body. I am beyond a body. I am a connected mind with spirit, and when I see from a miraculous way, I see the truth of who you are. I had so much more to say, but it's almost 8 o'clock, so we're gonna wrap it up with another beautiful song. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for our folks on Facebook. Let me just say that even though we are outdoors, we still pay rent, and there's still financial needs. So for those of you on Facebook, if you go to the Miracles with a Twist page, on the About section, there's a little link to my website, and that allows you to give a donation if you so please. If you want to do a financial expression of appreciation, that would be great. If not, I just hope you enjoyed yourself and that you learned something tonight. May Spirit be the one who spoke to you, not me. It's not about me. It's about all of you, and it's about the voice of Spirit. And so we will end with a beautiful song. Please close your eyes and allow yourself to just be with the words.
Mountains are still being moved. Strongholds are still being loosed. God, we believe it. Yes, we can see that wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need more. We need more. Our bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. God, we believe. Yes, we can see that wonders are still.
Wonders are still what you do. God, just do what you do. And it's okay, we'll end with this prayer. The hush of heaven holds my heart today. Father, how still, how quietly do all things fall into place. This is the day that has been chosen as the time in which I come to understand the lesson that there is no need that I do anything. In you is every choice already made. In you has every conflict been resolved. In you is everything I hope to find already given me. Your peace is mine. My heart is quiet. My mind is at rest. Your love is heaven, and your love is mine. Amen. Amen to that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
God bless you.